The Inspector General's report on the Hillary Clinton email investigation exposing the close relationship, it turns out, between several FBI agents and the media. The report, quote, identified instances where FBI employees received tickets to sporting events from journalists. How can they afford that? Went on golfing outings with media representatives, were treated to drinks and meals after work by reporters. What? And were the guests of journalists at non-public social events. All rather cozy, is it not? The report also charges that officials in the Bureau at, quote, all levels of the organization leaked information to reporters without clearance. I guess that's the definition of a leak. You don't tell anyone. Joining me now is the host of Media Buzz on the Fox News channel and also author of Media Madness. And boy, if ever there's an example here, Howard Kurtz. Since when did journalists become so rich that they can throw out tickets to sporting events and pricey meals and drinks? Were you surprised by this, Howard?
Yeah, it really jumped off the page. I guess we're all part of the elite now. Not everybody, of course. Look, I covered the Justice Department decades ago. I never gave any free baseball or football tickets to FBI agents or prosecutors. And that one in particular, the report says it's unethical or questionable ethics for anybody working for the FBI to accept that. I would say it's also unethical for journalists to provide that. I mean, having a meal or a drink, it's not proper for journalists to accept that from a government official. So sometimes we might pick up the tab. Playing golf, I guess that's a gray area depending on how often you do it. But, sports tickets are not cheap. And that in and of itself suggests to me that something rotten is going on.
And also, look, the report said that, there were so many of the FBI employees in contact with journalists that it was really difficult to identify the source of the leak. It could be any of them.
Yeah, and, the reason I think people have a right to be concerned about that, government agencies leak, White House leaks, political campaigns leak. It's part of how we do business. Sometimes it's political cheap shots. Sometimes it's really important information. Sometimes it's whistleblowers, pointing out some wrongdoing. But when you're talking about a law enforcement agency where criminal investigations are conducted, where confidential or even classified information is involved, then potentially you have a real problem with the place being described as so leaky. I mean, journalists, of course, lap this stuff up, but it is against the law. And we recently had a Senate official indicted, a Senate Intel Committee staffer indicted for leaking to the New York Times, a New York Times reporter who was somewhere else at the time, but was in a romantic relationship. Talk about cozy. Yeah. So this says a lot.
Did you see the president's impromptu chat with reporters at the White House today?
Watch the whole thing.
Oh, my God. It's the most fascinating. I find it incredibly entertaining. I don't know whether I should, but I do. Because he just says it as he sees it. And I just can't remember ever. I mean, I've been in this country, 35 years. I don't ever recall a president doing this, just coming out and chatting casually and actually, getting into a tussle as he does with the reporters, saying, let me finish my thought.
Yeah, I know. The reason you don't remember it is that...
Is this the charm of Donald Trump, even though most of the reporters in that group would not use the word charm?
It's the charm if you're one of his supporters. If not, you jump on, well, he said this and it wasn't quite right, or he made this joke.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you don't remember it because it's never happened. It happens, presidents occasionally walked into the briefing room. And I thought, watching this, all the shouting and the elbowing, it was not a good look for the White House press corps. You look at each other, you ask one question at a time, you try to elicit as much information as you can. Instead, it seemed like kind of a noisy kindergarten out there.
It really was, and I like the fact that he called them out. He would say, just let me finish my question,
Yeah,
he would response.
They would ask a question, he would start to answer it, and they would interrupt it 4 words in. I'm all for being aggressive toward the president, but, let the guy finish a sentence if you're going to try to get some useful information.
I got to tell you what, Howie, I absolutely loved it. It was very entertaining, and you can't help but love situations like that. I think it's tremendous.
Cinema verite.
Yes, indeed it is. Howie, thank you very much.